everyone, we're out on the bank today. Brought a couple of ground baits with us and we're going to show you how to make the most out of them in the summer months. I'm going to do some fishing in the edge, Andy's going to do some fishing across, but first we're going to run you through how to mix them to make sure you make the most of your mixes, because there's certain ways you need to mix them.
Yeah, like in the summer months, you want your ground baits to be quite inert. You don't want it to be dry. You want to get as much water into it as possible. So Paul's going to be fishing with a sweet fish meal today. I'm going to fish with a CP70. Personally, in the summer months, I would always steer towards a CP70, but we've just bought the sweet fish meal just so that you can see that how they're both effective, but they mix up very similarly, so you don't have to worry about the mixing side of it. I'm going to run you through it anyway. So this is what you're going to be using in the edge.
Yep, sweet fish meal. Just a nice colour as well. I think it's important to pick the right colour, sort of a greeny, darker sort of colour. I mean, it does come in different colours for other styles of fishing, but I think when you're fishing in the edge, like especially on commercials, that sort of green colour's a really good one.
This is the green lip mussel of the sweet fish meal that you've chosen today.
Yep.
You've also got krill, the specimen in the F1, and then in the CP70 there's the red, the green and the black. Again, I'm going to opt for the green because it's got that green tinge to the water, so it's just a nice colour for the sun months. You're going to be fishing with dead maggots on the hook, so you know that contrast of red over green works really well. So mixing wise, just take your ground bait, and as you can see, it's a very dryish mix, very powdery like. Now what you're trying to get it to, it'll go that little darker green, and basically once it's absorbed all the water, it'll go into like little 1 mil particles almost like tiny little micro pellets if you like. So there's loads of attraction in it. You want to get it nice and damp. Now what you don't want to do is add loads of water to it straight away and kill the mix, because it might not come back round. So a little bit of time, get some water into it, and at this point now you've got to let it sit and rest.
You have, yeah.
So I'm just going to mix the first little bit in.
Let the water absorb into all of them particles. It will dry out. 5-10 minutes, it'll be bone dry.
So there now, just probably wants a touch more water. And what you'll see is it starts to like clog a little bit. Now, to start with, that's what you want it like, because that's going to let it rest, and then I'm going to push it through a riddle. So I'll do it now just for demonstration. When I push it through the riddle, what that's going to do, it's going to spread the moisture in the mix. So all these lumps, don't worry about discarding them, just push them through, because that's just distributing the moisture around the mix. So get all the finer bits through, and then when you're left with all these lumps, just riddle them through. So
you just push them through with your hand.
And then I'm going to leave that to set. You know, normally I'd give that sort of 5 minutes first. You know,
and you'll feel it's gone a lot drier, and then you just repeat the process.
Repeat the process, and then in sort of 5 minutes time, so you can see there now, there's no lumps in it, and it's already starting to dry out. So leave that for 5 minutes. When you come back to it, what I'm going to do is add a little bit, tiny bit more water. Not loads, because obviously there's already moisture in it. And then your mix will start to change. It'll start to go a little bit darker green. And what this is doing, it's adding weight to it. So when that goes in, so you can see there, it's not quite ready yet, but all of a sudden, it's that damper texture.
A lot heavier.
I'll leave that to settle. That'll get as much water into your mix as possible then. So when I cup it in, or if Paul's fishing with a big pot and he's cupping it in the edge, it goes straight down, there's no particles. When the fish come in, they're going to disturb that ground bait. You want it to resettle quite quickly again. Like I said, you'll end up with like little 1 mil particles. So
just keep adding a bit of water until you get it to the consistency you want. Don't try and do it all in one hit, because then you're going to ruin it.
So it's dead simple to mix up. Like I say, I'm going to be fishing with the CP70. It's a bit more high fish meal content in it, so it's a bit stronger. And Paul's going to demonstrate the sweet fish meal today. So I think we'll go and get on the boxes, have a little fishing, and then we'll show you how to get the most out of it. So as we said, there's a couple of ways you can fish with ground bait. One's feeding small amounts and one's feeding large amounts. Paul's going to be feeding large amounts today, hopefully trying to catch you a few bigger carp. I'm going to be feeding small amounts, trying to catch anything from small F1s up to big carp, small carp, whatever comes in the peg, I'm just going to try and catch it. So all I'm doing, I'm fishing with the CP70 green today. It's a bit stronger in fish meal, so it's my favourite summer mix in the range, to be honest. I'm taking 3 maggots and I'm hooking them all through the fin end on a 16s hook. So I'll take 2 whites and then finish it off with a red maggot. Like I say, hook them all through the narrow bit so you've got loads of hook points showing. And then with this method, it's all about feeding regular. So I'm going to ship out there, cup some bait in, catch a fish, and just repeat the process. And then hopefully later in the day you can finish off with some margin carp, but Paul's going to show you through that. So to start with, I'm just ship over there. I've got a little marker which is just to the right of that little twig that's in the water. So I'll line it up with my marker, turn my pot over, pop my ground bait in, hopefully. So I'll pop my ground bait, lift my float up, put it right on top of that ground bait. Hopefully they'll be straight in to that little cloud of ground bait going through the water. And when you're doing this, you want to be looking for shallow water, because anything deeper than sort of say 2.5 foot of water, there's one straight away, and all of a sudden you get line bites. Now, ground bait's the best attractor you can get, but if you fish in too deep a water with it, then you can lead to foul hookers and line bites. So always try and find some shallow water when you're doing any of these types of methods with ground bait. Just take your time, make every fish count. It's only a small F1. Although he thinks he's £8. There we go. You see, that's what we're after there, your bread and butter fish. Little F1s, £1.5, something like that. Just keeps them fish, keeps fish going in the net all day, and then hopefully you can finish off some bigger margin carp. So hopefully that's one way that you can go about fishing with ground bait. Like I said, little kinder pot. I've got the large, I say little, it's the large guru pot. But with ground bait, because you're not feeding a massive amount of particles, it's only sort of a nugget's worth of bait. But it's the attraction of it going through the water that's going to attract the fish into your peg. So hook bait wise, you can fish anything over it. That's the beauty of ground bait. So what we'll do, we'll nip over there. Let's see how Paul's getting on, and let's see how he's going about fishing with his ground bait.
Right, so we've been over with Andy. He's fished across with smaller pots, fishing to the far bank margin. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run you through your inside margin. What you're trying to target is like the bigger F1s and the bigger carp in your peg, in your area, in your match or your pleasure session. Later on in the day, they come in the edge looking for food, and that's exactly what we're going to capitalise. So with Andy, fish smaller pots of bait, trying to catch fish steady, and then later on we're coming into the edge and they're looking for the bait, so we're actually going to give them the bait. So what I've got is I've got my big pot, I'm going to fill it right up. Now I've got some tape on my pole there, and then in line with my far bank marker, just going to upend my pot, and there's my bait. And then hook bait choice. One thing I will quickly touch on is the ground bait choice. Andy fished with the CP70, I'm fishing with the sweet Fishmeal. Now, in my normal fishing, I'd opt to use CP70 just because it's higher in Fishmeal and it's just better on these commercial venues. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to fish with the sweet Fishmeal. Now, onto hook bait choice when you're fishing in the margins. There's a few hook bait choices that can work really, really well over ground bait. The first one is bunches of maggots, is what I'm choosing to use today. But you can also use baits like double sweet corn, single double sweet corn, 2 big worms can be really, really good hook bait over ground bait. The thing is, you're feeding a big volume of bait, so you want a big hook bait to stand out. So they're coming in, literally hoovering everything up in your peg. So a bait like double worms, 2 bits of corn. If there's lots of small fish and you're getting bitted out with maggots, double corn or double worm can be a really, really good hook bait. But back onto the fishing, I fed my ground bait and I'm put my rig in, and now it's just a case of sitting and waiting, being nice and patient. They're big fish when they come in your peg. So what you're after is just sitting and watching your float, and sometimes, especially in shallow water, you can get lots of signs and movements, and there's one coming in my peg now. Oh, there's one in my peg then, just missed it. But yeah, you can get lots of signs and indications on your float, so just wait for a nice positive lightning fast underbite. Any little slow movements of your float, there we are. Just leave them well alone. When one sucks in, it's gonna be lightning fast. But ground bait is such a devastating way of fishing on these commercial venues. You know, it just draws them fish into your peg. If you went there and tried to fish with like 4mm pellets, 6mm pellets, sometimes you won't get them in the peg, but you feed that ground bait and they're straight in on it. So hopefully we've shown you a couple of good ways of making the most out of ground bait on your commercial venues. You know, think carefully about the colour of the ground bait. Like green's a brilliant colour on these commercial venues. And think carefully about how you mix it. You know, like today it's quite sunny and your ground bait can dry out. So if that's happening, there's a nice carp. Oh, he's in my net. So if your ground bait dries out, just add a bit of water, just dampen it down, because when you feed it, you want it all to go to the bottom. And these are the fish you're looking for. Like, to be fair, this is quite a small one. But it's proving the effectiveness of ground bait. Andy, when he was fishing on his peg, caught plenty of F1s. I did catch some slightly bigger ones, but when you're fishing your near side margin, you're targeting these carp, and as the day goes on, you'll start to catch the bigger residents of the lake. It's not just for match fishing. You can use it in your pleasure fishing sessions, but just think carefully about the time when you feed it. The later on in the day, the better it's going to be. But if I can hold him up, they're normally a bit lively, but I'll try and hold him up for you. There we are, there's a lovely little carp on ground bait and bunches of maggots in the margins. So there you have it. Two ways of fishing with two different ground baits. Very similar, one's across early on in the session. Later on, just think carefully about the volumes of bait you're feeding. When you're fishing across, you're trying to catch everything that swims, keep it ticking over. Late on, you're trying to catch the bigger fish, so that's why you want to feed bigger volumes of bait. But I hope you've enjoyed our little video, and we will catch you on the bank soon.